Hi and welcome to Thoughts for the Week with Chabad in Wimbledon. This is a tremendously exciting week in the Jewish year because this coming Friday we celebrate a Jewish festival called Lag Bomer, which is the 33rd day of the Omer. The Omer is the time period between the festival of Passover and the festival of Shavuot, which celebrates the giving of the Torah. There were 49 days between the Exodus and the stand at Sinai, and we count the days towards the festival of Shavuot. That's called the counting of the Omer. On the 33rd day of this time period, which falls this year on Friday, it's a day of tremendous rejoicing. There's a carnival atmosphere in the world. There's lots of bonfires and barbecues and parades, especially in the northern Israeli town of Israel called Miron, about 5 kilometers from Tzfat. And there is buried the central figure of this day, a Talmudic sage called Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. He authored a book called the Zohar, which is the basic Kabbalistic text of Jewish mysticism and teachings. And on this day, the 33rd day of the Omer, he passed away. But on the day he passed away, he revealed a tremendous amount of the soul of the Torah. And he instructed that this day be a day of rejoicing for all generations. And in every Jewish community, we have a bonfire, a barbecue, a parade, and we celebrate by learning some of his teachings of the Rashbi, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And it's fascinating because this links in tremendously with this week's Parsha, the Parsha of Bechukoisai. This week's Parsha starts with the words, In Bechukoisai Telechu, if you walk in my statutes, Ve'es mitzvoisai tishmeru, and you keep my commandments, V'asisem oisom, and observe them. And the Torah goes on to describe the tremendous rewards allotted to those who keep the Almighty's commandments. Rashi, the great commentator, picks up on the first verse and he says, what do the words Im b'chukoisai telechu, if you walk in my statutes, mean? After all, the next phrase says, Ve'etz mitzvoisai tishmeru, and you keep my commandments. And Rashi says that the opening phrase Im b'chukoisai telechu means Shetiyu amelim b'Torah, that we should make it our aim to toil in the study of Torah. And this was the personality of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. He is what we called Torasai umnosai. His profession was to learn Torah, to study Torah. What is the lesson that we should take from this coming Lag BaOmer, and especially from the Shabbos, which comes immediately afterwards? And the answer is very simple. Every single Jew must have what's called Kevius Itim La Torah, a fixed time to study Torah, both by day and by night. And even though our time may be limited, nevertheless we should study a little bit in the morning and study a little bit in the evening. And the way we should do it is like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai did it, Torasai umnosai, that in the time period that you're actually studying, you're totally in it. What should we be studying? Well, those people who have very little time to study should primarily be studying halacha, Jewish law, in order to know what to do in the practical sense. But very important also is to study something inspiring, and especially teachings which are related to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai himself, the mystical dimension of the Torah, which in these generations has been amplified and brought down into the intellect in the teachings of Chassidus, in the teachings of the Chassidic masters from the Baal Shem Tov and his students on. We're from Chabad, Chochmah, Bina and Das, wisdom, understanding and knowledge, which is an intellectual approach to the study of Chassidus. And most important, Chabad teaches us is that we must take the soul dimension of the Torah and use it to reveal our own soul and the soul of the world. Because there are three connections, taught Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. The Jew connects to God through the Torah. And when a Jew learns the soul of the Torah, he connects his deepest recesses of his own soul to the very essence of God. So let us take a lesson from this week, and each one of us increase somewhat in the study of Torah, both in quantity and in quality. Shabbat Shalom.